Hello and welcome to another video from Sustenance and Cover, the only channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today's little video is going to be another wake-up call, and this one here, inspired by the networks, is going to be about public prayer. First things first, whenever something appears on the networks, I don't care if it's network news or some kind of sitcom, it is designed to manipulate you. It is going to either manipulate you by simply lying to you or by telling you a truth in a twisted way to make you believe the next thing they tell you, which is going to be a lie. And, sometimes they're so transparent that instantly you can see what their agenda is. Other times you got to kind of sit back and wait and watch how things go. As an example, they had supposedly a white guy shoot a black guy a while back, and that stayed in the news for a couple of months. I think they're still talking about it every now and then. But in this country, there's 1,000 murders a day probably, and some of them are white guys killing black guys, some of them black guys killing white guys, white guys, black guys, women, men. There's no real pattern of who's killing who. People just kill people. But for whatever reason, all of a sudden, there is an agenda. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be gun control. I don't know if it's to start a race war, but suddenly, we're being manipulated. Another way that we've been manipulated over the years is by stories on public prayer, school prayer. That keeps coming up, and I saw a story about it about a month ago. I got busy. I didn't make a video, and in fact, I've been thinking maybe I shouldn't make a video because a lot of my subscribers are going to get mad at what I'm about to say. But in the story, they were talking about both sides, covering both sides of the public prayer issue. When they use the word both, that means there are two sides only, and both sides are covered. That's a lie. There are more than two sides to the story. Of course, you've got the folks that they want to pass these rules that you can't pray publicly, and then you got the other group that wants rules that you can pray publicly. But the third side that never gets to speak out on this issue is people who really pray. That's right. A person who really prays ain't interested in forcing somebody else to pray, and they certainly ain't interested in forcing somebody not to pray. In public is not the place to pray. Where I'm sitting, right here, this is where I pray. The reason I chose this, you see how the woods are there? Them woods go all the way around me. Ain't nobody can see me in here. And the next reason, and this is the most important, is there's a log fell down here. So somebody in my age and my medical condition can use this log to get down and get back up. And I keep out here this old tore up raggedy towel. That's what I kneel on if I'm wearing good clothes. A lot of times I'm so filthy, I just kneel right there in the dirt, because this is where I spend a lot of time working out here, getting sweaty and dirty. But in any case, I'm not interested in making somebody else pray or making somebody not pray, because I'm a believer in the Bible. I can't speak for religions that are, the Muslim faith. I don't know what their teaching is on this. I don't know the teaching of the true teachings of Hindu faith or any other faith. I only know what Christian faith is because I read the Bible, and that's where the Christian faith is supposed to come from. Jesus was asked how to pray in Matthew chapter 6. And the first thing he said was, well, first off, don't pray like the hypocrites that want to be seen by others, but pray in private. Now, somebody might argue he wasn't in private when he said it, but the people that were surrounding him were people who wanted him to pray for them. He wasn't in the market praying out loud. In fact, he talked about those people. He said there's people out there that blow a trumpet first so everybody would come see what was going on, then they would pray. Now, another example of somebody praying in public was Daniel. It said Daniel the prophet prayed where everybody could see him. That's not true. If you go back and read that story, and that's in Daniel chapter 6, Daniel was praying in private, but there were people who found out about it. And so they convinced the king of Babylon to sign an edict saying that nobody for 30 days could pray to any god or human other than the king. Once they got that piece of paper in their hand, they went there and they sat in wait for Daniel. When they knew it was his time for prayer, they broke into his house. That was not public prayer. Now, one time that could be considered public prayer is when James was being stoned to death. The Apostle James, or the disciple James, prayed when he was being killed. And he did pray publicly. But the reason for that was, if he'd have waited till it wasn't public, he'd have been dead before he prayed. He was just trying to get his last little bit of prayer in before he died. There's no example in the Bible of anybody praying in front of people who didn't want to hear it. You don't want to survive? Don't listen to me.